Here we go. Welcome, everybody. So, how's everybody doing? How are you, Erica?
I'm very good. How are you doing, Sven?
Pretty good, pretty good. I'm excited. I'm also a bit nervous because we have quite a bunch of guests popping in and out of StreamYard here, actually, which makes me really nervous.
Yeah.
But we would love to talk with our guests a bit about the future, right? What's coming up 2021. I think we should start to introduce our guest. Should we go for it?
I think so too.
Perfect. I would say ladies first. Welcome, Anya. How are you
Hi,
doing?
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you for having
Very
me.
cool. So just a very quick intro to Anya. You're part of the SAP Customer Experience Labs team, creative director. It's great to have you on and to chat with you.
Thank you very much.
Um,
Nice to be here.
Next up, let's add another person from the SAP Customer Experience Labs team, Georg, the lead of SAP Customer Experience Labs. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for letting me be on the show.
Very cool. And James Bond, Viktor Kehayov, head of Next Gen CX products. How are you?
Good. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So the topic is what's on the menu, right? So we want to talk about the future, what's coming up in the world of CX. How does the pandemic maybe affect us? But before we start, we thought let's have a little warm-up game. So we would like to ask you guys what was really on the menu. Like, what did you eat last, basically?
Yeah. What'd you cook?
Who
What'd
wants
you
to start?
eat? What'd you order?
Victor, would you like to start?
Yeah, I like Thai food. So today was a red curry day for me.
Very cool. Anya, I think Thai is not so far away from you, right?
No. That's absolutely my favorite, definitely. So whenever I could, I would absolutely always eat Thai food or Asian food in general. But I normally don't cook. Just don't like cooking for myself, and it just takes too much time for me, and I would rather spend it in a different way. So last time I had sushi from a pickup sushi store.
It's kind of a good choice and pretty healthy, actually. And Georg, are we staying in the Asian area?
Well, usually I would say yes, but I mean, if you check my Insta, I think Erica, I have a lot of times Thai food, but or some Asian kind of inspired food. But today was a quick lunch, just some veggies, grilled chicken, more of like a Greek style kind of thing. Nothing special today, and I didn't even cook it, so.
Okay, very cool.
That's cheating.
That's all I was saying. Yeah, usually it would be something more Thai kind of. Yeah.
What about you, Erica?
For me, I have only had coffee today so far, but last night I made steak and Brussels sprouts with a sriracha honey sauce. So.
Oh, Jesus.
Wow. Now I'm hungry.
Last thing I cooked actually for the kids here at home was just some crazy toast, basically, with melted cheese and whatever. So pretty.
You made some good stuff over the weekend. I saw that.
I know. And I brew, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So let's get into the topic. So we have this beautiful pandemic going on, right? And it has changed quite a few things. And I believe a lot of things also became possible just because we have this pandemic, actually, right? So the first question, just to open it up, actually, would be, what do you think this pandemic has actually changed? What change became possible just because we have the pandemic and it would otherwise have been super, super hard to change? So did you guys have a view on that? Who wants to kick it off?
Well, I think I'll start then. Everybody's being a little shy. For sure, I think the biggest impact has just been, our mobility and our accessibility and how our daily lives and routines have been disrupted, right? So, of course, we want to, keep everything here within, having a CX focus, a CX lens around it. So I think for sure the changes to commerce first and foremost are have been really impactful. But it would be great to hear what our lovely guests think as far as within the realms of commerce. What have you guys noticed changed? What are you expecting to have in store for us in the future?
I really think that a lot of things have changed in terms of on-demand ordering. So in general, ordering and getting anything you want and anything you need online. Because before that, definitely the physical stores had a much, much higher representation in our daily lives. And this has totally changed, as you definitely need to shop online. And with that, also the on-demand generation really made a big and huge step upwards in terms of what do I really need, where do I get it, and where can I order it. So many people have just signed up for, let it be Amazon Fresh services or anything like that, or even ordering from your the drugstore, for example, if you just want to have some washing powder, for example. So anything where you can get whatever you need on demand, and let it also be other services, that has changed tremendously. And with that, the big question comes up as well, are the physical stores still relevant in the future and in the upcoming future? Because it just made it so convenient for us.
Absolutely. So I totally agree that a lot of the areas that were previously unthinkable, like especially food, for example, right? It has become a commodity now, right? It has become kind of normal for a lot of people to order these kind of things online, simply because we're supposed to not be in touch, basically, right? Absolutely. I mean, the other thing that I believe has changed a lot is that if you have an online store now, or if you have a store now, having nothing online, no way to kind of stay in touch with your customers at all, like maybe it was previously the case, it's absolutely unthinkable by now, right? I mean, you need to stay in touch, and everybody understands that. That's maybe also a big mind shift, I believe.
Yeah. You need to stay accessible.
Yeah.
As a vendor. If you don't have any offerings online, you're just not there right now.
Yeah,
I guess
and one thing we talked about a little bit in the last season was, okay, even though online is important, people still want to be in stores. They still want to have that experience. We saw this a lot with the rise of Amazon and how essentially people were using physical stores as showrooms to be able to see things, test them out, try them out, and then go and buy them online. So I don't think that we're at the point yet where people overall prefer or would actually stop going to physical stores as soon as they have the chance. But then what are these new experiences that are coming out of that? You're seeing pop-up stores, you're seeing time sales that are linked to physical stores. Right now, this surge in click and collect, basically everyone who is not able to be open to the normal shopper, they're racing to have some kind of call or buy online and being able to pick it up. And I do think that we're going to see more just more services like this available, especially if we're going to have unpredictable lockdowns in the future.
But I wonder if it's only the lockdowns though. If you look at the space where we look at right now is mostly B2B, and you see 40% of the buyers already saying that they are happy with just buying completely digitally without ever having to talk to a salesperson. And what is new there is they're willing to spend much more money and feel much more confident. All the way up to $1 million, they seem to be comfortable spending online without talking to a salesperson. So you have to ask yourself, is that ever going to go back to the way we used to sell things before, or is it going to land somewhere in between? That's one of the things that to me speaks to how deep and profound this change is, and it's not just linked to just the lockdowns and the situation that we have today.
And I think that applies to many areas, right? I mean, also, I think later on the list, we have a little bit talking about like the new work style and new work, basically. And I believe many of us can now no longer understand how we can potentially return 100% basically to the office, right? I don't even know what it is anymore. So, excellent. So, maybe a quick reminder also, because I see a lot of comments popping in. Actually, there's people from India, wow, Morocco, Then there was someone actually who just said hi from Australia. Okay. And Claire actually also mentioned that people still need a connection, right? So I think that's a important point, right? So even though we're all 100% digital by now, and a lot of the business is running digitally, I think we're craving for a little bit more face-to-face relations, I believe, right? So in the end, the truth is probably somewhere in the middle to have like a good mixture. But I think it's shifting towards the digital lifestyles, I believe. Very cool. Just a quick reminder, if you have any questions watching out there, then just let us know, okay? So if you have great questions, we'll try to get it into the show. But I think we could maybe quickly move on, actually, right? So we talked a bit about physical commerce now, retail in general. Anja, you mentioned something called super pop-up stores. Can you maybe explain a bit what you mean with that, and how is that kind of a change when it comes to the pandemic?
Erica also touched on that a little bit already. Just in general, by thinking of where the future might be for retail stores in general, I came along a way of thinking that, I mean, the thing is, it just doesn't really make sense anymore to have such big spaces like huge department stores offering a full variety of, for example, fashion for the entire season. If there are just no people being able and allowed to get into these department stores. So why having that much space? So being also thinking about these empty spaces, and also not being able to determine for how much longer and how much more often we might have to stay at home, or these restrictions will go on. So the idea, it wasn't only me, it was a friend of mine, we just discussed that through. So rethinking of retail experience also led to thinking of these super pop-up stores. Just imagine you have an apartment, or you have a space on the street where there used to be a store, for example, but you can't run it for the entire season because what you're offering is just not the right thing for that for this season or for every season. So why not saying I have a space which is super well accessible, but I'm renting it out to other companies, other brands for a certain time of amount of time, to be able to offer their offerings as well, to put them in. So you have a share place actually, but you're the one who's managing who's in for the next week, for the next month, for the next 3 days. So actually what consumers would need to do, they just need to remember that location, which is amazing, but they know in this location, I always have the best offerings with the best products, but for the best prices, but it's always changing. So they are always amazed by the sales going on, by the variety. And with that, we talked about you want experiences actually. You don't want to have the full variety because I can get that online, but I want to be inspired by being able to touch and interact with the products. So why physical stores? And if I would have something like these pop-up stores with a different way of arranging it and managing them, I mean, that would be something which could turn smaller spaces, because I think there's a tendency from bigger spaces to smaller spaces and more exclusive on the needs of the customers or the individuals for inspiration.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, it sounds really great, and I think that this is definitely, I mean, it's already in the works, but you see this, more in the States, where you have these highly curated collections, and exactly, they're based off of experience, they're based off, what is the mood, what is the imagery, what is the environment, and then, inspiring consumers to then dig deeper into, what is more relevant to them. I do think that that's a great touch-off point for, what are other ideas or other ways that, that B2C commerce in particular is changing, is evolving to meet these new circumstances. And I think, Georg, you had some ideas around that.
Yeah, so I mean, I think Anja touched on some of the points for the physical retail. I guess due to the pandemic, I don't think we should just look at this lockdown as limitation, but I mean, it kind of created also new ways of how we kind of can discover products, right? How we can experience these products without having to go to a physical location or being able to go to this physical location. So I guess we kind of will keep these additional options of how we can engage along the customer journey. So like stuff like augmented reality has been around for a couple of years already, right? That's kind of converging. You see there's more and more stable and scalable products evolving. How customers can online experience product or get an understanding what this product is about, just more than just pure pictures. We see some of the startups creating new experiences with virtual try-ons. Things like Viking for Adidas showed something really cool, where you can try on the sneakers. And there's more stuff coming along. I think somebody on the comments mentioned also the physical connect or the social connection between buyers and sellers, I guess, like customers and the brands. There have been concepts around, I believe, even like 10 years ago, where you could call into like a designer brand store, and the person could show you through a video stream what the products look like. But I think this is also a move now into something like more QVC, or like live streams, where you get the product presented on the store, on the web store of these brands. I mean, this parallel track of these influencers or unpacking videos and whatever else is happening in the social media space, right? So I think this kind of would also accelerate, and it'll just become a richer experience for the consumers to understand what they actually want to buy, or really discover maybe additional products that they're interested in.
So I totally agree with the AR content, right? And it also goes hand in hand actually with sustainability, which is a topic we also cover next. But I also want to quickly touch on the live streaming. Actually, you see this with a lot of places actually, right? Instead of kind of just doing nothing, they now hop onto a daily live stream on Instagram, for example, and try to reach out to their followers and try to remind them that we're still here, basically. And when we open again, then please come and visit again, right, and purchase. And of course, that's something we've seen quite often, and it's quite necessary, I think.
Well, I think especially with the live streams, right, and like this round here, it gives you also more authenticity, right? I mean, look at your background, Sven. You're not trying to hide all your stuff that you're playing with. It's creating an authentic presence of you, right? Same for the brands. I mean, this. I guess we will also lose of this a little bit of these highly polished kind of experiences to get something real, where people can experience what are the true values of these things, and not just high polished videos that just give you a glimpse of what it's really.
I think it's really interesting because if we bring this back to CX, for me, this also really means that it is not necessarily super important to have a highly polished appearance, right? And like the perfect communication all the times, but you need to be reachable somehow. So in my case, for example, for my wife's recent birthday, I bought her some earrings, right? And the shops were closed, and I was really trying to reach out to that store. And in the end, I found a way, in this case via Facebook. And in the end, we made that deal happen somehow, right? And so it doesn't quite matter if they didn't have the perfect website, for example. In the end, I went with a picture, basically telling them, I want to circle, basically, I want to have this product. It's super basic, right? But they've been reachable in the end with a message, and we made it happen, actually. So, and it can be way better, of course, right? But
of course, I mean,
you can just send a message, I guess.
Especially for your case, I mean, we have been looking into tech that can support these kind of things, where you just point at this object and it gives you really super relevant results. I mean, yeah,
totally.
What I also would like to add to this topic is in former times with advertisements, we always have been trying to achieve the dreams. So the pictures and the visions we have seen in advertisement and these big commercials. But what it is tending towards now is the connection. So it is something where you can relate to. And with that, you have all these social media, the people on social media posting something and being able to be followed, actually. And with that, the followers are the ones which are relating to their habits and to the way they are living it, and with that also the products, because they believe in them. So it's about the personal connection, what you're buying now, instead of chasing your dreams in former times.
All right, so I'm going to need to be the devil's advocate here, because I absolutely agree with you both as far as authenticity really mattering, and also brands taking into consideration more and more what is the real experience that their customers are going to have with this particular product or service, right? But I don't think that we should discount the appeal of the dream, because the perfect example is Instagram, right? I think that in some ways, a lot of people, like normal everyday people who aren't models, who aren't super rich, they've become much more empowered in at the very least how they can present themselves, how they can portray their experiences and what they want. And I think more than ever, we're not necessarily losing this polish that you get from the typical advertisement, but rather the normal everyday people are actually able to bring those elements into their lives, or at least what they are portraying online. And so reaching the dream of fancy clothes and going to some exotic location, to a degree, almost anyone can achieve that, to or at least try to portray that online, right? So I think it definitely depends on the audience, and above everything else, how businesses and brands can be as relevant as possible, know their customers as best as possible, and tap into that, and also leverage it, take advantage of it. We do definitely have coming up a mention of social media and customer to customer engagement, but I think this is the perfect example to kind of use now, because brands are able to leverage influencers, not just on a paid model level, but on a normal everyday person using this, putting this product in my home, and look at how glamorous it is. Like, look at what I can cook with these devices or whatever. So it just depends on who are they trying to reach, and with what, and how can they leverage that.
I don't think it's either or, right? So I think it's an additional kind of point of view that we now get through this crisis, right? Because we open up this other channel where you get like a real insight, like what's behind the scenes, like what else are these people doing, or like how is how are these products being used, maybe for different purposes, whatever, right?
Yeah. I have to add great comments, and you just spoke about influencers, Erica. We got some great comment from Stephanie here. We know her well. Hi, Stephanie. And she tells us, Anya talked about the wasted retail space and rotating pop-up store alternatives. Has COVID changed some cultures to be more minimalist? I think that's a really great question. In my opinion, I think that's a yes. I believe I've become more minimalist. What's your opinion on that?
Totally. I think my experience, totally. It's personally, but also, again, looking at what customers are investing into, everyone is just focusing on what is the essential thing that I need, expecting that quick return of investment. Maybe if before people were okay to wait for 6 months to a year to see something coming back, now they want to see other things rather quickly playing out. Doesn't matter whether you invest into products for your company or for yourself. And people ask themselves twice before they go buy something, whether they actually need it. So I think totally, I can't quote any service and stuff, but my feeling from what I'm seeing is totally.
Excellent. So I think we should stay with you, Viktor. You had a kind of radical comment. Is B2B CX actually ready for all this, for the new buying behaviors, basically, right? That now we expect kind of from B2C. We expect 3D models, right? We expect the perfect chat experience, reachable all the time. So what's your take on that? Is B2B ready actually, or is there still a difference between B2C and B2B? So
it's I have to put a large disclaimer. I'm the new kid on the block. I've been around only for 2 years, so it's not like the CX guru or something. But two things that stand out as soon as we started looking at this space. One, when I was entering B2B sales like 20 years ago, the business process for getting a list of customers, you talk to them, you focus on the things you think that might be valuable for them, and then you try to close a deal, and that takes you 6 months to a year. The process didn't change from what I'm seeing today. It's almost the same. Okay, we have some more fancy stuff around it. The other thing that stands out to me is when I go to some of the books that people have written about CRM systems, and I look at what we are using today. Again, I'm a bit jealous when I look at the B2C space and what crazy stuff is happening on that side, because our poor salespeople, I think, are more or less living in a dated world, and not just with the, as I meant, not just with the solutions they're using, but also with the process. So, and to me, what COVID has done is it has just made it how big. It has made it more clear how big that gap is between what the buyers on the other side are expecting, especially people entering the workforce now that are used to different type of buying behaviors. Also, when they go into large enterprises, they expect to be able to find there are like 6-7 reasons why people would engage with a salesperson. And a lot of those buyers are expecting that they find the answers to those questions online, almost not having to engage with a salesperson. And that, for them to go and buy stuff online up to $1 million, I think it just changes the whole landscape of how customer experience for B2B companies would look like going forward. Is it ready? I think we have a lot of those things on our radar. What it might have done, it might have just made it more clear how much faster we need to move in order to be able to serve those types of needs.
Okay, very cool. Let's hope the best for B2B.
Sure.
So we talked a bit about sustainability already. I quickly mentioned it, right? When we talked about virtual try-ons or AR experiences, right? So the next thing that comes to my mind is like virtual try-ons, and instead of buying something that I maybe don't really know how it looks like, I have a perfect experience and I don't need to ship it back, which is then a sustainable experience, actually, right? At the same time, we have a new president in the US, right? Biden actually re-entered the Paris Agreement. So radical shift now in terms of topics. But do you guys think that actually sustainability and customer experience will be on the menu actually when it comes to CX in 2021? What's your take on that?
It's a trick question.
Do you think they will actually? I mean, the real question, I guess, is what will be more important, right? Will this pandemic actually continue to shape dramatically the way we work and live, basically, or will there also be some other topics coming to the menu, actually, such as sustainability, for example? Any thoughts?
I don't know. I'm going to go first, I guess. I think there was a push already in the past years, like to go local, buy from local stores, right? So buy from smaller stores that are in your area or stuff like that. I've experienced by myself, like when all the shops were closed. So there is, I mean, the German kind of version of Craigslist, eBay Kleinanzeigen. It creates some kind of circular economy, right? Also, and there are other players in this area, and I think that kind of influenced also my behavior during the pandemic. Stuff that you can get online used that is in very good shape. That I don't know, has been sitting on the shelf. Nobody used it actually, and you can get it for half the price. Like, why not?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So and I guess there are others that are playing in this area with concepts, with rebuy and whatever else is existing there. I think this will continue to drive, especially if it has also economic effects. People having, I don't know, being unemployed or less money to spend or making more conscious decisions, like you guys said. Like, do I really need it? How much am I going to use it? If I'm also only going to use it like, I don't know, once per month, do I need to buy it new? I don't know, right? So,
or should you rent it, for example, right? I mean,
Right.
maybe
you can rent it, right? So, yes.
Becomes the new
The
normal,
sharing
right?
economy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean,
huge.
things have been around, right? So, it's just accelerating all this.
Well, that's a good point, right? I mean, sharing economy is not exactly new, right? I mean, a lot of people in the big cities don't have a car anymore, and they use the car sharing services of the world. But I think maybe that concept is ready to enter a different categories now. You know? Like the strollers for your baby, for example, stuff like that. So
Yeah.
So
No, for sure,
anything
because
which is maybe not too personal but very expensive. These are things you might be renting. So I mean, we had these concepts already a couple of years back. For example, kitchens. Why do you need to buy a kitchen? Why can't you just rent a kitchen for a certain for 5 years and then renew it? Because normally bathrooms, kitchens, and all of these expensive components within your house, for example, you normally only do them once. But also the ones which are offering and the ones which are producing these components would love to have customers buying more often. So with the lending economy, I mean, then you are getting on a plan where you say, okay, after 5 years, I'm renewing it. And with that, you have the full service agreements as well for the workers being able to remove the parts and put in new ones. So you have actually an entire flow where the entire supply chain actually gets kicked off. So models where you're not buying and bounding yourself to something because it is of a huge amount of money value, then you can get a faster return. And faster returns also get good push for the economy in general.
Absolutely. And I think there's a lot of stigma that has been removed from these ideas, right? Because it used to be 20, 10, even 5 years ago that there might be a stigma behind, well, why don't you buy your own car or, buy your own super fancy kitchen, right? Because these are also to a degree items of social status or, gifts to yourself that you've earned or something like this. But I think now as more people are becoming concerned with how they like their personal responsibility to to the environment and to the impacts of say their carbon footprint. I do think that this is fueling a bit more creativity and a bit more just a bit more willingness to really take stock in, okay, what things can I do to make a difference. Just the other day, I was reading an article about the effects of our higher digital activities on the environment, and the fact that just being on your computer or streaming much more than we used to is really having a huge negative impact on the environment, and there are small things that you can do, like not sending so many emails, and then there are bigger things that you can do if you're getting into monitoring your energy, getting into some kind of program where there's more balance in the grid, and where you can even contribute back energy if you're using alternative sources like solar. But I think what we're really going to see a lot more of is not just corporations being more serious and transparent and really trying to put into motion tangible actions, but also personal responsibility and accountability coming into play, and people doing more on their individual level besides recycling.
yeah. What I believe is also that the pandemic has shown so many people that a lot of the things are possible to change. So I would really hope for that you are not letting go of some of these higher goals that we have now, like sustainability, like protecting the environment, maybe more social ethical workforce, blah, 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 all these things. Because now we have seen that we can change so many things, right? So why, once the pandemic is over, once we can actually move around freely, why wouldn't we touch these next things? Actually, would actually make sense. That's my hope. So, yeah.
Well, thinking of change, I think we can, go into, what are these other new experiences that, we've gone through a little bit in 2020, and we expect to evolve in this coming year. We talked a little bit about new work. We talked about some personal and social changes. It'd be great to hear from you guys. What are some things that have stood out to you? Well, I'll give you a lead. How about we get into new work? Because obviously the fact that we're doing this in this format, right, versus all of us in the same office is definitely an example.
Just this morning, we had a design thinking workshop, and it was around the topic of creating the best work-life experience, or best work-life balance, actually, for yourself in general. And we interviewed a couple of people. And what I really found very interesting after looking into all the results of the interviews, the reason why they want to return back to work, physically returning back to work, not mentally and not digitally, is because of meeting people. So the social aspect is the biggest in the entire situation. So they have different reasons why they would like to do it, because we all, as we are here on the call, have different environments back home. Some of us have family, some of us are living by themselves, some of us are living in a shared apartment or whatever. So there is a reason for some that they want to escape from the noisiness and the surroundings back home. Others want to have the exchange, but also what makes it more attractive for the companies, for the employers to get their employees also back. Because right now we have two things. We have the scenario we can't really plan. We have all these huge, massive office building being empty. But actually, we also need to think of this is not applicable for all companies, actually. I mean, being able to also digitally work or work from home, that's something which is happening much more in the area of tech, for example, or finance or media, but not where you're really working on products or in factories. So it doesn't apply for any kind of business. But what makes the people and the employees being wanting to get back? So the employers need to rethink, what are we offering? What are the spaces looking like? If getting back to social interaction, being able to meet in person, because we all know meeting in person definitely speeds up also some processes or inspires each other, but it's not really needed for any day-to-day meeting. So also rethinking the frequency, how often you're coming back, the amount of time you're spending, and what is the reason, and how are you spending your time back at work. That needs to have a rethink to make it more attractive to also spend the time for commuting. Because we are now used to, I'm starting work here and I'm ending work there, but everything is shifting because you're at home anyway. So you're not bound to your schedule anymore. And you have much more meetings, actually, because you don't spend any time on the road.
Well, it's totally true. And so my experience is also that a lot of these things that we've done in the office work actually quite well at home. At the same time, we save some time commuting to work and getting back, basically. So my question would actually be, for everybody who wants to pull me back into the office, what is the big benefit, right? I mean, I totally agree, like social interaction, that would be a big benefit. From time to time, that would be really nice. But in 80% of the other times or so, I think the office will have to fight really hard, actually, right? That's how you put it into our post-it here, right? I mean, what does the office do to actually get us back into the office? I mean, we'll have spa environments, free massages, and
not only that. Also, I mean, do you really need your own desk, or what is the best shaping of the office spaces in general? What is the allocation? What is the amount of people in a room? Do you need to book your room upfront, for example? And because it's also not plannable, how many people for which time frame in which region are able to enter the buildings? So there will be new requirements also on that, but also the way how we are working, because it will be more important that we are really defining why are we coming together and for which purpose.
I think, Viktor, you had a great comment here in the post-its, and it's about tech overload, right? I mean, you spoke about our office life is now virtual. Our private life is now virtual because we meet grandparents only via Zoom and stuff like that, right? So we're basically 100% online. And at some point, we just kind of get overloaded with all this being online, basically, right? So the question was, how do you actually reach customers in the end if they don't want to be online anymore, right? If they prefer to take a walk instead of being on Facebook or somewhere else.
And I think that nicely builds on what Anya was talking about. I think we need to start understanding what are some of the trade-offs that people are making by being online. Are they willing to make them? There's a huge, if people haven't seen, I think we don't have time to go too much into details, but if you haven't seen the discussion between Apple and Facebook last week about the Apple new functionality that's coming in that's going to restrict how apps track users across, then I would suggest you go look at that, because I think that's the major thing is not that much the fatigue that we're having from virtual communication. It's more what's happening behind the scenes. How much data are you producing, and what are people doing with the data that you're producing? There's a nice paper which talks about 1 day of the life of your data. Just if you haven't, it's a good read. A couple of things stand out immediately when you look at something like this. You see that it's in the meantime that industry, that whole industry that collects data and sells data is up to 200 billion already in size. You see things like that are on average, every app tracks you at least in 6 different ways. And people have found ways to build already. Just imagine that you are raw in someone's database and they already have like 5,000 attributes of all of the stuff that you're doing, and they know everything about you inside and inside out. And in that whole context, in addition to the virtual fatigue, now, how do you do advertising going forward? So how do you reach people in a way that doesn't disrupt them, that doesn't disturb them? And if people start choosing to opt out of those data sharing capabilities, so how do you as a business still, the stuff that you just talked about, buying a present for your wife, how does that business still reach you without intruding your private space? With me, those are types of a bunch of questions that seem to be emerging. In addition to all of us being like super tired of looking at the screen the whole day, and the last thing you want to see is now another pop-up that tells you, why don't you buy new running shoes if you bought them last week? But it's probably a discussion that you can have in a dedicated meeting where you can look at it different angles. I don't know that we have the answer, but it seems that we need to.
I think we have an excellent first show, actually, right? Now we have so many questions for the remaining year. So
it's good.
I mean, you just mentioned time a bit. We have to watch a bit the time. Some of you also might have some follow-up meetings, actually, right? Who knows? We're slightly over time, Erika. So I think we should probably come to an end. Maybe take on one more question and then the last thing.
Yeah. Okay. So I think then we can get to the Blitz tech round, right? So Sven had a very clever idea that we just do like a lightning round of some big tech topics and just basically show of hand, quick comment on whether or not you think that this is going to be something that's finally going to be big in 2021, or if it's more hype than anything else. So Sven, you want to take it off?
Yeah, sure. So let's start with crypto/blockchain. Okay, there was a big hype the years back. Basically, does anyone of you think that's going to be a major topic 2021? Hands. Anya? Okay. You think it's going to be a topic? Very interesting, very cool. I mean, actually, I was waiting a bit for Facebook to launch Diem, right? The new Libra, basically, the cryptocurrency. That would have been a big thing. Didn't happen so far. Let's see if it happens tomorrow, okay? Neuralink, brain-computer interfaces. I mean, Georg, you chatted me yesterday evening around 10 or so that Elon Musk put a brain chip into a monkey head. Monkey is happy. All good. So do you think that will play a role?
I think we had the live podcast from the CX Live a couple of years ago, I think 2 years ago or so. We were talking about this. I still would not probably get something implanted in my brain, but I don't know, maybe maximum into my hand or so to open doors. That was, I guess, the topic we talked about. Yeah, I think it's still a long way to go. Even though I agree with some of the things that Elon Musk expressed on the Clubhouse chat that was happening on Sunday. I think we are kind of some cyborgs already, even though the interface through which we interact is like a screen and applications that run through some screens, and we need our eyes and hands to interact with these machines. I think this will get closer and closer. Maybe we see the Apple AR glasses this year. So maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Does that answer your question? I think it will be evolutionary, not revolutionary. It's like not like you wake up next morning and you have a chip in your brain.
I think we can agree it's a long way out. But let's watch it. Probably it's not going to affect you directly in 2021, right? These chips in your brain.
No.
Let's take a final take, okay? Because I think we have to close it at some point. But Erica put something in there that was 6G. Come on, I mean, I'm going to wait for 5G forever, basically here in where I am close to Munich. When I take the S-Bahn to the city, actually, I'm sometimes in a dark hole, basically. So anyway, 6G. So my take on that is actually, at least we know how important it is to be connected now. So it might just gain importance, but I think we're waiting for 5G. So
yeah, exactly. Alrighty, so thank you guys for playing our little blitz round, and so let's then move on to the last thing. And so for our first, official episode, we wanted to ask you guys, and kind of return to a topic that we touched on quite a bit in the beginning. What was the last thing that you had to return, and why?
Shall I kick it off?
Yes.
Actually, it's related to our COVID situation, because when we found out we need to have these FFP2 masks now, I didn't have one, obviously, so I tried to order it online. They've been all sold out everywhere, so I ordered the first one. Then it got said it's going to be delayed. I ordered the second package from another vendor, and that one was actually delivered by a I don't want to name the company, but they never ring the door. They always say no one was there. I mean, I'm at home office. I'm here all day. But they always say nobody was there. And so these items now went back by themselves. So I didn't even return them.
Yeah. It's automated, including returns, no?
But I have 2 more packs coming from different vendors.
Wow.
Hang in there.
I think I remember what was the last thing I returned. It was before Christmas, actually. I ordered a hanger for my son for his room, and it was arriving broken. So it was some kind of jungle-themed hanger for clothes. It arrived broken, and that's what I returned last.
How about you, Victor?
Running shoes for me, just didn't fit the new designs. They keep changing the designs, and I had to send them back.
Yeah, wouldn't that be lovely to solve that problem actually finally, right? I mean, why wouldn't we be able to actually order the correct size right away? Anyway, so
yeah.
How about you, Sven?
Well, the last thing I returned was actually some smart home device that I think is a siren that I tried to connect to my smart home system, but it wasn't the right system, so I had to return it, and I should have checked it a bit more thoroughly, I believe. What about you, Erica?
Oh, I'm still actually in a process of trying to return some stuff I got before Christmas. I got 2 different sets of these chargers that are connected to a dock, so you can just lay your phone or your iPad on it. And they both came, and I was not really satisfied with quality. They didn't even get hooked up. I just opened the box. I was like, okay, and put them back in the box. But I'm in the process of trying to return them because I've had a few hiccups along the way, but hopefully it will work out soon.
Excellent. So I would say final reminder, everybody's watching. If you watch this later on, also leave us a comment. If you want to have some topics discussed, just leave them in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Those were very long 25 minutes. Yeah. We're a tiny bit over time. Excuse us. But I think we had some fun streaming here.
Yeah. Thanks for sticking with us.
2 weeks' time is going to be Erica and me doing the chat. And then in a month's time, we're going to be again back with Labs Talk and a good topic.
Thank you,
you so much.
everyone.
Cool.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks all.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.